What are we doing here?
Shopping. I need to pick something up. No, Miata's always the answer. Oops, I forgot to put the top up. This isn't a continuity error. Welcome to the driver's line. I'm Greg, and these are my paper towels.
And I'm Jordan.
And this is the 2025 Mazda Miata, which is always the answer.
Except when it's not.
All right, it is road test time in one of my favorite cars. As we said, this week we have the 2025 Mazda MX-5 Miata Grand Touring with us. Huge thanks to Mazda for letting us have it for the week.
Yeah, if you like car reviews, news, and shenanigans like our European road trip special, smash that like button and subscribe for more automotive action. Now, let's see what this Miata can do.
So you've been zipping around in this Miata for a week. What do you think about its looks?
I think it looks great. It's very purposeful. It goes back to those British Roadster days, long hood, short deck. It's aged really well, I think.
It really, really has. And so we've got this top spec Grand Touring trim. We are finished in Aero Gray. What do you think about the color?
I mean, it's interesting enough in that looks like primer, I guess. But I think there's definitely better colors in Mazda's stable. I know their, Soul Red is just fantastic.
Yes,
no one does
really
a red like Mazda.
No, the Soul Red is absolutely outstanding. We've got deep crystal blue available for 2025 on the Grand Touring trim as well, but we need the yellows. We need the orange off of that 30th anniversary. Give us bright colors, Mazda. Come on.
Yes, we're so tired of black and white.
Yes, we are. We are. So some of the other things that differentiate this Grand Touring from lesser Miata trims are a unique 17-inch wheel design and body-colored mirrors, but that's about it.
Yeah, not much differences there, right, to this particular model. But, I mean, why mess up things that are already working, right?
Exactly.
I mean, that's what the Miata's all about.
Yeah, simplicity is one of the ethos of Miata, and they definitely hold it here with these, simple changes.
Yeah, so speaking of those simple changes, really just primarily just lighting on the outside, right? Mm-hmm. So updated headlights, updated taillights, which I think look fantastic, honestly. I think that's kind of one of my favorite features on the exterior.
Yes, they do. They really do. And so 2024 is what saw those revisions, and then Mazda carried that forward to 2025. So some of the only changes we have for 2025 are the deep crystal blue that we mentioned a few minutes ago on the Grand Touring, and we've got the 35th anniversary edition coming. So Miata has been around now for 35 years in 2025.
That's really hard to believe, like considering this market is so small. The Miata has given itself such a strong name. It's carved out that niche. Right?
It really has. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit later, but that is one of the exciting changes for 2025.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things you don't like about the exterior of this Miata?
Well, I mean, I love the way it looks, but there's just one thing that sticks out, and it's that back end, specifically that rear view camera. I mean, it just looks like someone just carved out the bumper and stuck it in there, right?
Yes, it does. There's so many different options we feel Mazda could have gone with. They could have integrated within that emblem, the Mazda emblem on the back. Yeah. They could have carved out a little niche hitch to help you lift up the trunk, hidden it there, or they could have hidden it on the lower part of the bumper with the license plate frame.
Yeah, I think if Mazda's trying to go up market with their styling, which I think most of it does pull that off, that is one thing, attention to detail like that matters.
Absolutely, undeniably. So the other thing I don't like is obviously the lack of vibrant color choices.
Yeah.
We're going to keep beating that drum because Mazda, we want to see fun colors on the Miata. It deserves it. It's a fun car that needs the fun colors.
Yeah, it absolutely fits in with its personality.
All right, so let's take it inside now. So what do you think about this interior of this Miata?
I think the interior is really well done. Again, considering its age, I think it's held up really well. I think that Mazda wants to move up market in terms of its branding, and I think this interior really pulls it off. It feels really well sorted.
It does. It feels properly upscale, honestly. And especially with this tan Napa leather, it really makes it a nice place to be because Mazda splits up the dashboard. So we've got the tan on the bottom, the black on the top. They bring the color around the sides onto the door cards. Plus you got that exterior color they still carry forward. So it's a really nice place to be on the inside.
Yeah,
It's not a tight place to be.
That is true. It is pretty tight. If you can squeeze yourself in here, you'll enjoy it. One thing I do really like that Mazda does is just simplicity, right? So the gauges in front of me are so legible. I mean, it's amazing. I can just look right down and know exactly what it is, but I also have that digital gauge cluster on the side. Plus, on top of that, I will say it is bigger. It's more screens. I know we're always bashing about screens and stuff, but this 8.8-inch screen in the center does really kind of elevate that look a lot.
It really does. And so it's nice. It's functional. It's clear. Everything is nice and crisp. And you also have the CarPlay and Android Auto with it as well. So it's a very functional piece of kit, but it doesn't look out of place on the Miata, I think. It fits into the design of the interior very nicely.
Oh, I absolutely agree. I mean, and along with that, it does pull in some of the other features like the Bose speaker system in here, which I think is a fantastic nod to all Miatas in the past. You got those speakers built into the headrests.
Yep. So we've got a 9-speaker Bose system. You got the speakers in the headrest, so it makes it nice and clear. You can hear your music with the top down without having to crank it all the way up. So GTs also get some nice kit with them as well. So when you get that Grand Touring trim, you get the auto lights, you get the adaptive front lighting that you mentioned works really, really well. High beam control, rain sensing wipers, and an auto dimming driver's side view mirror.
Wow, that's so fancy. What do you don't like about this interior?
Well, again, we're going to keep beating that drum as well, but it's a very tight place to be.
Yeah.
So we've only got 37 inches of headroom, only 43 inches of legroom. You're 5'10", I'm 5'11". We're kind of the limit as far as people who can comfortably sit in here. So if you're going to think about getting one of these, I would definitely go to the dealership and check one out. Make sure that you fit.
Absolutely, for sure. You don't want to be uncomfortable in this thing, especially on long drives. If you can't fit, it's going to be uncomfortable. Well, I would say in terms of technology, I think Mazda is starting to move in the right direction, but there's still some room for improvement. Specifically, let's talk about these gauges. I love the way they're set up, but I think there is some room where we can kind of enhance it. I mean, you have a speedometer on the right-hand side. Why not use another digital display there so I can show some more metrics, give it a more customized look, and update that. Also, the screen is nice. I wish I could use the touchscreen functionality all the time instead of just like at park. Please stop nannying me. Let me be an adult, Mazda,
Yes.
okay? But I appreciate it anyway. I mean, the controller's here, but it's kind of weird.
Yeah. Agreed. So one of the other issues that I had is one that I had with my NC Miata. Given the lack of space in the Miata, you generally slide the seat all the way back if you're a taller individual, and then your seat is there squeaking against the bulkhead the entire time. Every time you go over a bump, squeak, 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 squeak. Very obnoxious. Obnoxious. So that's just another challenge when you are a taller individual in the Miata. Just a little bit of an obnoxious thing, and what we've both done is generally we slide the seat forward just a touch. Just a touch.
Absolutely.
We take away a little bit of leg room so we don't hear the squeaking.
That's right. We sacrifice our comfort for audio comfort.
Exactly. All right, now it's time for my favorite subject, power.
Well, the Miata doesn't come with a lot of it.
It doesn't, but the Miata is more than just about power. It's about power to weight. 181 horsepower, 151 pound-feet of torque from the 2-liter Skyactiv 4-cylinder aren't headline numbers, but the curb weight is.
And what is that?
This Miata only tips the scales at about 2,400 pounds.
That is pretty light, considering where all cars are right now in the market.
I know all cars have added so much weight. The Miata has actually gotten smaller from the previous generation, which was the NC that I owned and loved.
Yeah, so I mean, all due fairness, it doesn't have a lot of power, but I mean, it's got some pretty good pickup.
Oh, it really does. So I mean, it's good enough. That is good enough for 0 to 60, 5.7 seconds and a quarter mile at 14.4 seconds at 95 miles an hour.
That's pretty impressive, actually.
Yeah. So it's got about 13.2 pounds per horsepower, and that's actually the same or better than two cars that people tend to think is a lot quicker than the Miata, the Toyota Supra 2-liter,
Wow,
and the Volkswagen GTI.
Oh, you're hitting home now. Okay, I see what you're doing. Well, I will say, one place that's definitely got the GTI-B's fuel economy. I have been driving this thing around all week, and it's gotten to like 33, 34 miles a gallon the whole time.
Unbelievable. Yeah, and we've been caning this thing when we've been out today because it's a lot of fun to fling it around.
Yes.
And it's still up above 30 miles per gallon. That's really unreal how efficient this little sky-active motor is.
And I think part of that probably is also the way that the gearing is done with this, because it's so fun to use. You got a really quick set of ratios in the front, and then that 6th gear just drops the revs down, and you can just cruise all day. You won't hear the engine or anything. It's a really nice balance.
It is. This is a very positive engagement, just very short throw. It's a really nice shifter. I love it.
Oh yeah. I think it's probably time you enjoy the shifter. Why don't we swap and you can test it out?
All right, let's find a place to swap some seats, and we'll see how this thing handles.
All right.
All right. Time to stop driving it like a van and like a proper sports car.
Oh my God. Well, I will say, the chassis on this is absolutely fantastic. I mean, they do a lot of time right paying attention to weight distribution. The engine is just aft of the front axle, so we kind of have that front mid-engine feel. You got 53% front, 47% rear weight balance. I mean, it makes it a really well-handling car, very progressive.
Yes, absolutely. So we've got a little bit more weight up front, a little bit less weight over the rear, so 53% in the front, 47% in the back. It gives it that nearly 50-50 weight distribution that you want in your sports car.
Yeah, absolutely. And all manual transmission Miata, except for that base, come with the revised asymmetrical limited slip diff. So that's going to help you make those turns a little bit better. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah, a little bit different, on power versus off.
Yeah.
I can't tell a difference, but you know what? It handles great.
Mazda has engineered the suspension to have a little bit more roll, right? I mean, that's kind of the thing with Miatas. It makes you feel the road a little bit.
It makes you feel the road, and Mazda engineered it that way on purpose because it makes it feel like you're going a little faster than you are. It gives you that just sensation of speed without absolutely getting a ticket everywhere you go, and that's one of the things the Miata is fantastic at.
I will say, yeah, in the time I've had it, I've looked down at the speedometer sometimes, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going way too fast. Maybe I'll do it 45 miles an hour. It's pretty incredible.
This was one of the first cars that Mazda put their kinematic posture control on, and it's not exactly torque vectoring, but it's kind of similar to torque vectoring. So essentially what it does is it'll brake the inside rear wheel when you're making a right-hand turn. And so that way it kind of rotates the car around just a little bit easier. So it's something like with braking and suspension kind of working in tandem.
Yeah, and with that, they've also included special traction control for the track, the DSC track. That's going to allow you to have a little bit more fun before the nannies come and pick you up. All right?
Right.
Oh, God. Okay, well, now that we've taken that corner, I do still feel like there's probably too much body roll.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the first things I did with my old NC because it was the same way, right?
Yeah.
And so just leveling that suspension out just kind of takes this Miata up to a much more serious level, and that is just something that I think they all really need. It'd be nice if Mazda would do something like that within the club package. Obviously it doesn't make a ton of sense in a Grand Touring or the base, but the club I think is something that would really benefit from a little bit more suspension there.
Yeah, I agree. It's a track focused version of the Miata. I mean, why not push that a little bit different from the rest of the lineup, right?
Exactly.
Is there anything else you don't like about this particular model in terms of performance?
I'll let you listen real quick. Did you hear anything?
Not much.
Not much. The exhaust is way too quiet. Way too quiet. It needs a much sportier exhaust option. I know the aftermarket has that in spades, but we just need to hear this Miata. We need to hear it singing. It's a great sounding engine. It's actually fantastic when people put aftermarket exhaust on it. I really think they need to do like a factory sport exhaust option. Take a page out of Porsches, but come on.
Yeah, I mean, I at least offer an option. I can see in this particular model, the Grand Touring, it being a little more luxurious. Maybe you want to have a quieter exhaust. But I mean, in something like the Club, it should be just raucous exhaust,
absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, it really should.
All right, so with the ND3, part of that, we also have a recent package launched by Mazda. It's the 35th anniversary edition to mark 35 years of the Miata on the market.
I know, that is just so impressive that the Miata has had such longevity in the market, in markets where cars are just turning over constantly, getting created and killed just left and right. This has stood the test of time because it's such a fun platform and it's sold in such strong numbers, and the Miata community is second to none.
Well, that's fair, that's fair. So if you are interested in that 35th anniversary edition, it's probably sold out, but I'm going to let you know what's going on with that one. We talked about the gray paint being kind of boring. Well, part of the 35th anniversary edition, in addition to being limited to 300 units, is a beautiful artisan red metallic paint, and that was developed as part of Mazda's bespoke Takamanori paint process.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's a really beautiful color. Just think of it as soul red, but just like a couple shades darker. It's really, really pretty. And when it hits the sunlight, it just absolutely pops. So one of the other changes that we both love for the limited edition is the 17-inch wheels. It's a much nicer design than what we find on this Grand Touring. So Mazda absolutely hit it out of the park with those. It's a really handsome look. Also comes with this same tan Napa leather interior that we have here, which looks really, really trick with that artisan red.
Oh yeah, that's a beautiful combo. And on top of that, you are going to get your individualized serial number for your special edition.
Let's go. Individual serialization right on the plaque. All right, so it is time for our favorite new segment, Would You Rather?
That's right, we're gonna pit this Mazda MX-5 Miata against 3 competitors and say which one we would rather have.
That's right. So, it's an awesome sports car and a great value. But let's see if there's some other better values out there, and we're going to go ahead and start with probably the most direct competitor to the ND Miata, which is, of course, the Toyota GR86.
Yeah, so the GR86 has about $30,000 price starting off. It's got a little more power, 228 horsepower, and it's a little heavier. It's 2,800 pounds curb weight.
Yep, so a little bit better power to rate. I've actually owned the previous generation one of those. And so it's really, really hard for me to make a call on this because I absolutely love both of them. And honestly, you cannot go wrong with either one. So literally, it boils down to the fact if you want an open roof or if you want a fixed roof.
Well, I'm an open roof guy. I got to go with the Miata on this one.
There you go. Miata 1.0. All right, so next up on the list is something that's pretty different than a Miata. Quite a bit more useful. And a lot more piano black plastic.
Yes, we are talking about the Volkswagen Mark 8 GTI. That one starts at $32,000, so a little bit closer to the Miata. 241 horsepower, much more powerful, and has a DSG option and lots of utility. Actually, it only comes with a DSG, so if you want a manual, then you're out.
Yeah, you're tough out of luck there. So,
yeah. What would you think?
I would take this 10 times out of 10 over GTI.
I have to say, because there's no manual option on the GTI, I'm going with the Miata as well.
Yeah. And no piano black.
Yes.
That's just an extra point in the Miata's
system. There's lots of problems. But anyway, it's a fun car, but I'd still take this.
All right. And now just shooting a dagger at both of our hearts. The Porsche 718 Boxster.
Ooh. Yeah, so the 718 is way more expensive than this, $75,000.
Yeah, literally, you can get 2 Miatas for the price of your Boxster.
Yes.
But there are actually people out there who do cross-shop these.
That's true, especially if you're looking at a used one, right? There are some folks who do that. So the 718 comes with 300 horsepower, but it is twice the price new. What do you think you'd be on that one?
This to me just is such an exceeding value over that. And as someone who is, somewhat value conscious, if I'm shopping new for new, I mean, I'm definitely going for this because I don't think the 718 Boxster with the 4-cylinder is twice the car that this is. It's not. Yeah,
I think that's a really great point. The 4-cylinder to 718 is definitely not my vibe either. If I'm going to look for a 718, I'm going to want that 4.0, and that's going to put it way out of price league, even in the used market, considering Porsche's value. So I'm with you. I'm going to have to go into Miata on that one too.
Wow.
So Miata is always the answer.
Miata is always the answer. This is like literally the first week we've ever had on Would You Rather. All right, so we have pulled off here at the beautiful Daniel Stowe Botanical Gardens in Belmont, North Carolina to talk about some of our final thoughts of this 2025 MX-5 Miata Grand Touring.
Yeah, and we really appreciate Mazda loaning us this car for the week because they have done such an outstanding job engineering this vehicle. There's a reason that this car has not changed in 10 years, right?
Exactly. So Mazda has really focused on the lightweight aspect of this car. So this chassis only weighs about 2,400 pounds. And Mazda doesn't use any exotic materials in it. I mean, that is one of the most beautiful things of this car. It has nearly a 50-50 weight distribution, and it only costs about $36,000 in this Grand Touring trim.
Yeah, it's really rare when automakers are able to keep this weight down. That has benefits in handling, as we saw with this car, but also in fuel economy. You're getting outstanding performance. You're also getting 35 miles a gallon just driving around town. I mean, that is really fantastic.
It is. And this is just one of the things that makes the Miata so unique and why it's kind of stood the test of time.
That being said, there are some things that we're not crazy about on this Miata, namely storage is one of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So very tiny trunk, very tiny interior means you don't have a lot of storage. I mean, that's just what you have to pay for when you get this Miata. So you're getting all the wonderful aspects from the handling, from the lightweight, the nimbleness, the change of direction, but you're not going to have a lot of place to haul all your junk.
Yeah, this is definitely a car that you're going to want to test drive and try out before purchasing because there's lots of little tiny things that could annoy you. For me, for instance, the trunk release. I have no idea why there's not a button on the trunk. It's only on the remote and it's only on this dashboard and you got to reach down and get it. I'm sorry, it just drives me crazy. I'm not sure why that is. It's an easy fix along with the super narrow seats that you're sitting in. I mean, I definitely understand the need for bolstering, but I feel like we have some more space. We could widen those seats a little bit.
Yeah, the seats could be a little bit wider, and the little key fob could also have larger buttons. The buttons are very tiny. They're along the side of the key fob, which makes it a little bit more challenging to use than a traditional key fob.
Absolutely. But with all that being said, for the price, this one, just over $36,000, I mean, in today's market, that is an absolute steal.
It really is, because you're getting an exceedingly nice interior. I've just loved some of the detailing on this interior with this tan Nappa leather, and Mazda has taken the time to have these colored panels, and they actually run onto the dashboard. Everybody else would just put black plastic there.
Absolutely.
They actually match the color onto the dashboard, and it's just really fantastic.
So we love the ND Miata. We think it's an absolute performance bargain. So if you can fit in it, definitely buy it.
Exactly. The ND is just the tiniest version of the Miata since the NA, but if you're a bigger guy, maybe you go ahead and save a little bit of cash and buy that used NC3 Miata.
Well, on that fantastic revelation, it's time to end.
Thank you so much for watching.
We'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us on The Driver's Line. Hit that like button and subscribe for more car reviews, specials, and podcasts.
A special shout out to our partner Drive Shop for fleet management, keeping us fueled up and on the road, enabling us to keep bringing great content to you.
Welcome to The Driver's Line. I'm Greg, and these are my paper towels.
And I'm Jordan.
They just fell over.
It's fine. I took